Well, it's not that they don't want to meet with you, Meghan. Well, it is actually, but they know who you are. They know what you're about. They know what you're doing. The game is up. The jig is up. Hey, and thanks for joining me. Harry and Meghan want you to focus on certain headlines, that Harry is bored and he wants you to care. He's also stunned and dismayed at the backlash to the Pat Tillman Award. Also, meanwhile, disappointed Meghan is trying to facilitate roundtable discussions with members of the royal family to give them the opportunity to apologise to her. They're in full-on damage control mode. And I've been sitting back for the last few weeks. I haven't made any videos on them because I've been observing. I've been looking at how all this will unfold. And as soon as it was actually announced that it was alleged that Harry had destructed certain documents involved in his NGN case, I thought, here we go. It's all going to kick in. The usual machine that backs up the Duke and Duchess of Sussex is going to kick in right now. And it has. And I'm going to share what I found with you today. Before I kick off with things I'm going to show you, I must say that the Change.org Pat Tillman Award has got up just above 70,000 at the time of me recording this. So that is just a fantastic result. Obviously, people feel really, really passionately about this issue. I'm worried about the backlash against Mary Tillman, and I can see that the Sussex team are trying to direct harassment and bullying and intimidation her way. I could tell by the dismayed and stunned reaction from Harry's story that it all mentions her specifically. So they are very much directing any backlash back her way, or they're attempting to anyway. But in that situation, I don't think they really know who they're dealing with. I get the impression that Mary Tillman is not someone that will be easily intimidated, if ever. So I think they're definitely fighting a losing battle on that one. So I just want to kick off with showing you this. Now, these are just clips that I have gathered. It's part of an information gathering exercise that I've been running for about a year and a half. So this is just an example. And I sort of sort them into themes and categories, and I'm sort of noticing that a lot of stories get recycled and a lot of the same patterns emerge. And there definitely is a pattern. Whenever things are going really badly for Harry and Meghan, the same sort of stories get churned out. Now, there's a little bit of a myth that the UK tabloid media are actually churning all this out, that they're generating this interest, they're generating the clicks, they're keeping the stories alive. And that is very unfair, because I would say conservatively, at least over half is actually being generated by USA media. And then after 2 or 3 days, some catch on, whereupon they're reported by the UK tabloid media. I've seen this being repeated over the last 18 months. Now, you have the big boys like People, Vanity Fair, Marie Claire, Vogue, Hollywood Reporter, Variety. You have them all very Sussex friendly and churning out, Hello Magazine is still churning out articles about Lily and Archie from 3 or 4 years ago with very, very old photographs. They just keep trying. They keep trying. They're determined to get that exclusive, those first shots of the kids, maybe at next year's Invictus Games at Whistler. They're doing their best to get those first shots. They're trying very hard. I feel quite sorry for them, really. It's quite humiliating, and they're really grovelling. But then you have the internet sort of publications like She Knows, which always interests me because they seem to have almost a direct line to Meghan and what she's thinking. Plus there's Stylecaster, In Style, there's We Got This Covered. There's all sorts of internet rags that churn out 10 to 15, and if the Sussexes are in trouble, 20 articles a day. So why do I care? Why am I making this video? Because I want to make people aware that it's part of a bigger pattern and that this isn't going to go away. And the implicit threats are still being made. And also they're still picking on Prince George, which just drives me absolutely mad. Well, you can always tell when the Sussexes are really in trouble because Jack Royston always does a viral TikTok article whenever they're really, really in trouble. He comes out and he writes an article saying saying, guess what? A video, an old video, usually from 2019, 2020, really old stuff, is all of a sudden going viral on TikTok. And then he writes an article on it. Well, he even did an article picking on Prince George on the 4th of July, which was just disgusting. So I'm going to address that as well, because I said every time they come after Prince George, I'll come after them and I'll stay true to my promise. So let's have a look at the PR fluff. Now, a lot of these are UK tabloid media, but it broke first in the USA sort of internet rag realm. So we can't really blame them. The Express, Daily Mail, The Mirror, they tend to report on what comes out from the Melodramacito duo, which is really unfortunate because I don't think they're really picking up that it's being churned out by the couple themselves. Never mind, they'll catch on eventually. So let's have a look at a few of these articles. Now, this is about the, bored Harry wanting to go home. Isn't it extraordinary that he's trying to actually drum up sympathy? How can he think that anyone would feel absolutely any sympathy at all? What a sad little petulant man-child he is. Nevertheless, Harry is increasingly bored and looking back across the Atlantic where most of his army and school friends still live. Well, I'm not sure he actually had a lot of friends when he was here. I think a lot of people put up with him for the sake of William and for the sake of their association with the royal family. But what I'm picking up is that a lot of people just put up with Harry and now they don't have to bother anymore. So it's just so refreshing. They're free. They're free. Go away, army and school friends, and enjoy your lives. You're finally free of the ginger whinger. Anyway, we'll go on. More PR spin that's being churned out. Prince Harry's book Spare seems to have upset some of his past military buddies. Now, this is true. A few have expressed feeling and let down by how he depicted their military service, viewing it as a show of disregard for military customs. Well, we all know that, and that's a dragged up old story. But it does justify the lack of support amongst the military community for Harry. And there is a lack of support. Everyone just wishes he would shut up, show some self-respect and dignity, and go away for a while and be very, very quiet, maybe for about 5 years. Now, this is a little snippet about Meghan being disappointed. Harry's more than willing to move on. I know why Harry is more than willing to move on, because once you remove all the palace machinery from behind hapless Harry, you see what happens. You see the real man. You see the disaster that he really is. And he wants that back. He wants that palace protection back, baby, because that's the only way he can salvage anything at this point. Well, it's not that they don't want to meet with you, Meghan. Well, it is actually, but they know who you are. They know what you're about. They know what you're doing. The game is up. The jig is up. They know everything now. They know all about the PR attacks, the unrelenting PR attacks for the last 5 years. They know all about the leakings and briefings to unauthorised biographies. They know all about the accusations against Catherine, the Princess of Wales, and King Charles III regarding racism, and they know where it came from. They're never going to sit down with you in any shape or form. You are the enemy. They know that. And their duty is to preserve and protect the monarchy, the institutional monarchy. That is their duty. That is their life's work. And they're not going to let some interloper in to destroy it from the inside. Now, the next bit is very, very telling because it gives you an idea of the level of Harry's delusion. And it's actually this. I'll make it bigger so you can see. Prince Harry to pass Invictus Games to Prince Archie so it remains a Sussex initiative. Now, isn't that extraordinary that he thinks that it's his to give? He is a patron. He is just a patron of the Invictus Games. He doesn't own it. It's not part of the Sussex family. It's just crazy. What a little dictator he is. And there's a bit more. It gets worse, this little bit. It is claimed the Duke of Sussex is keen for the legacy of the Invictus Games to remain in his immediate family and be passed on to his son, Prince Archie, when he reaches maturity. Oh, yes, it's yours to just have and hold, Harry, make money out of it, and then pass it on to Prince Archie to continue the grift. Good on you. Amazing. So I looked up what a patron of a charity actually is, just so hapless Harry can work out what he actually does and what his role is for the Invictus Games. A patron of a charity is someone who agrees to lend their name. And in this case, the name isn't very good at the moment, so it's not really helping all that much. That, as well as Meghan, strutting along and marching in front of veterans in her little shorts, it's quite humiliating at this point. Lend their name to an organisation as a way of supporting it. Okay. Or actually grab all the funds to pay for 5-star hotels and massive clothing budgets. Has anyone ever wondered that with Meghan's massive clothing budget that she, claims for the Invictus Games, why she was actually marching in shorty pajamas? I mean, it's curious, isn't it? They are generally non-members and tend to be well-known individuals who can get media coverage for the organisation and bring in donations. That, Harry, is your function. That is your function. You don't own the games, you don't get to pass down the games, and very soon you might even be the patron of the games. So make hay while the sun shines, honey. Now, as I mentioned in the intro, it is astonishing that Harry is stunned at the backlash to the Pat Tillman Award. It just shows that he is definitely surrounded by yes people that tell him what he wants to hear. He doesn't have any idea how deeply unpopular he is. He doesn't know that Netflix, for example, are using him with his Polo series because they know people will tune in to mock. They know that. That's why they commissioned it. And if they ever air it, which is debatable, but if they ever air it, it is for that mocking gaze, that negative attention. That's why they're airing it. And can you imagine the South Park spin-offs from that Polo series? It's just going to be delicious. So, like I said in the intro, the change.org petition is just galloping along, pardon the pun after the Polo pony reference prior, but it's up just over 70,000, which is wonderful. So a lot of people are showing their support. And I think Mary Tillman in particular will be really heartened by that support. There's a lot of good people out there. There's a lot of good people that care. But we have to face the harsh reality that there would be members of the military that are not on Mary Tillman's side. I mean, she caused a lot of trouble in her day when she demanded that the truth about her son's death and the circumstances surrounding that death were reported to the public. She was, like a dog with a bone. She wouldn't let it go. And what a brave woman she is. And mothers are like that, aren't they? They will defend their children to the day they die. And that is exactly what she did. And obviously the oodles of character and honour that Pat Tillman displayed in his life, obviously in a large part came from his mum, Mary Tillman. So that's good, but I'm sure that there would be certain sections of the military that necessarily wouldn't really be backing Mary Tillman at this point and would probably be on Prince Harry's side. They're probably the same sort of areas of the military that give Prince Harry some sort of access to be able to promote himself using the USA military to do so. So this is the PR puff sort of justifying Harry's disappointed reaction, Harry's legacy on Invictus and how it's a space where he truly feels at home. Do we really care where you feel at home, Harry? Do we really care anymore? Should the focus really be on you anymore? Harry is sort of falling victim to the thing that Prince Philip always warned all younger family members of the royal family about, and that was believing in your own publicity, believing that the cause is you, believing that you are really the shining knight in armour for these causes. You help. If you're a member of the royal family, you certainly help getting eyes on the prize, getting eyes on the charity or foundation that needs help, but you aren't wonderful. You can't believe your own publicity. It really isn't about you. But Harry is now convinced at this point that it is all about him. Now, this next little snippet actually refers to what I was saying, that he must be surrounded by people that just want to tell him what he wants to hear. Prince Harry inhabits a gilded bubble, seemingly unaware about the deep antagonism he and his wife have created. It is deep. It is very deep, and they must be aware of it, because when I pointed at the start of this video to all the machinery, all the propaganda, all the PR puff that is being churned out in relentless fashion and relentless regularity, it must be being paid for. There is no way someone can get this amount churned out over a period of 2 or 3 days unless there is some favours being called in, some form of payment in some way. There has to be. No one will ever convince me of anything else. Of course, this is all rubbish because we know that after the Living Legends of Aviation Award, that Prince Harry would have become very aware of the animosity towards them both. And Meghan was very aware of the animosity. That's why she didn't go. She knew it was going to be a disaster. At the very least, I know Meghan knows. She knows, doesn't she? She knows. She knows. And so that's why she doesn't turn up. And if the backlash keeps increasing, she won't turn up for this one either. But she might have to because Serena Williams is in the spotlight. And Serena Williams would probably take great objection to the fact if Meghan doesn't turn up with Harry and support him. It will start to look pretty bad because it was very telling when she didn't turn up for the Living Legends of Aviation Award with the very poor excuse. Well, one of the kids was sick again or something, some lame excuse. And, it's looking bad. It's looking like she's distancing herself because it's a disaster. And it is a disaster. But I do love this quote that I dug up from Admiral Lord West, former head of the Royal Navy, who brutally said, "He is not a living legend." That pretty much sums it up, doesn't it? Short, sweet, and to the point. Now, I did promise that if they came after Prince George again that I would counter it. And so this is where this video probably takes a little sadder and sinister twist. On the 4th of July, Jack Royston came out in Newsweek with an article, and it was one of those, oh my goodness, it's gone viral on TikTok articles. But this time it was targeting Prince George yet again. And I'll just show you the headline. Prince George being a playground boss goes viral. So it's couched in seemingly positive terms, whereupon, they drag up that Katie Nicholl drama. Do you remember when Katie Nicholl actually released her book? I can't even remember the name of it. It was that bad. And she had a passive-aggressive go at Prince George. Now, at the time, there was a huge backlash against her. And she said, I didn't mean it that way. And she acted like the victim and everyone forgave her. And she's sort of back in favour with many. But I always took it as a passive-aggressive dig at Prince George at the time. And I knew where it came from too. I mean, we can't forget the Katie Nicholl did actually write for Vanity Fair magazine, and we all know that is a very Sussex-friendly publication. So, this is horrible. They're dragging that old story up from Katie Nicholl where, Prince George comes across as a bit of a playground, not bully, but, throwing his weight around by saying that my father's king and you better watch yourself and all that sort of thing. How she would even get such information is questionable. And actually, it's interesting because I've got the Kindle version of her book and I did a search on all the legit terms. Now, I may just be missing this, but do you think I can find it? And I'm wondering whether in the updated Kindle edition that this has actually been removed. I don't know. But they've dragged up a viral TikTok video to publish this on the 4th of July. And who was getting a lot of flack on the 4th of July? Harry. Harry was getting a lot of flack about the destruction of documents allegedly that he has to sort of counter in court before January. And also, of course, the Pat Tillman Award. So what do? They go after George. Of course they do. They always go after George. You think that they've been a little bit quiet? Oh, no. Meghan's just been busy doing her Netflix series and finishing that off. They have no intention of backing down. They have no intention of taking things easy or backing off. They have no intention of any form of reconciliation. I am convinced that as soon as King Charles III passes away, there will be another book. And it will be so damning of Prince William, you will not believe it, because the implicit threats of that actually happening are already being launched across the pond right now. And apropos to that, here is the headline. Expert claims Prince Harry will release a second memoir after this royal family member's death. I'm convinced of it. I'm absolutely convinced of it. Actually, I think it's probably already written. And I think it's just sitting, waiting. Just like Spare was sitting and waiting for our late Queen's death. Because there was no way Harry was brave enough to publish that or release the docudrama series while the Queen was still alive. Queen Elizabeth II was still alive. He didn't have the guts. He couldn't face it. He knew the backlash would be abrupt and brutal because Queen Elizabeth II, that's one thing she did very well. She protected the institution of the monarchy and she just would not have stood for it. She wouldn't. You know, the punishment would have been swift and severe. And so I think he's biding his time. And I think that these little threats, these little implicit threats, it's like when they were dangling the Oprah Winfrey interview. It was like, well, give us our half in, half out, keep funding our security, keep allowing us to come back for jolly romps, and then we mightn't do the Oprah Winfrey interview. We might give you a reprieve for a little while until we want something else. And these implicit threats are now being dangled about a second book. And I think that could also tie into the fact of why NGM wants to get their hands on notes, because I think it's going to be very clear. Not only will it illustrate that probably Prince Harry was aware that nefarious activities and phone hacking were going on prior to the time limit being up for him to bring his action, but it will probably clearly illustrate that there are other plans afoot. Now, Meghan wants to get away because she's finished actually filming her Netflix disaster and she wants to go to a remote island so they can have fun as a family without any outside pressure and be in complete luxury. Well, of course you have to be in complete luxury, Meghan. We wouldn't expect anything else. I mean, you've done that arduous work filming the Netflix series. You've been making 2 jars of raspberry jam and you just must be exhausted, darling, not to mention that 1 jar of dog biscuits. So that's about all I've got for now, but I am sort of following along with this. There are different patterns going on. It is astounding the number of articles that is churned out by these internet companies on their behalf. You wouldn't believe it. You actually wouldn't believe it when you actually track it. It is huge. The other thing that's interesting is that She Knows is actually changed a little bit because they're going into putting Catherine, the Princess of Wales, and the Prince of Wales on the cover of all their stories and even in their headlines. But when you go into the body of the story, they talk about Harry and Meghan and defend Harry and Meghan. And it was also such a hoot. There was an article about all the things Harry and Meghan have achieved since they left the royal family. And one of the notable things that they've achieved, I kid you not, was attending Ellen DeGeneres' and Portia de Rossi's vow renewal ceremony. That was one of their achievements since they left the royal family. On that rather funny tidbit, I will leave you and I'll see you again really soon. Bye.